Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my small leaf linden bonsai. I've always called this linden tree my ugly tree because it never had much going for it style-wise. It just had this one thick kind of branch coming off to the side and nothing else on it. I had some new shoots developing on this side, so I let them grow and develop, trying to develop kind of a main tree-like form to this side of the tree and keeping this as a branch. This is really thick compared to anything else on the tree. So I was hoping, you know, by letting these grow, I could thicken up this part of the tree and maybe someday bring it into proportion. That's the plan anyway. The tree came into flower again late summer, and you can see the flowers have been replaced by these little seeds with these winged leaflets on it. So I'm going to take all those off today. I think they're zapping the strength out of the tree. You can see the leaf size is really tiny. It's like the size of my thumbnail, even smaller here. It's more the size of my pinky nail. So I'm going to strip all these nuts off so all the energy of the tree goes into developing branches and foliage. In the background here you'll see I have a Virginia creeper, and it grew up and it's attached itself to the upper branches of the linden tree. So I've got to separate the two before I begin the work today. I'll start by cutting back the Virginia creeper. It's a vine. So I'll just take it off here. And this tall branch, I'll take it back to here. And I may prune it down shorter, but I think that separates it, yeah. I just started this, I think this is its second year of growth, this Virginia creeper. Seems to be doing quite well. Now I'll get the remains of the Virginia creeper out of the tree. So it winds itself around the branches here. So I can just kind of cut it loose like that. I see I have some Japanese beetles up here eating the leaves. There's a close-up of the Japanese beetles. And you can see the leaves they've eaten. You can see they've done a whole bunch of leaves. Just kind of reduced them down to lace. So I've got to get rid of those. I'll feed them to the chickens. To get rid of the beetles, I just knock them off into a container of water, and then I feed them to the chickens. Off you go. So I got 3 in there. I'm just looking for others. I'm not seeing any others. I took off a couple yesterday, a few the day before. Here's a look at the beetles in the water. They don't seem to be able to swim or anything, so I'll feed them to the chickens. Here's a look at the Virginia creeper. Doesn't really have much style going for it. It's got kind of a trunk up here with a root coming off of there. Another few shoots here. So it's kind of a clump style, but it's not a very good looking clump style. I think I'll reduce the one on this side. I've got kind of a leaf coming off each side here. There's a bud there, so I'm going to take the top off, make it a little shorter. The one here, I've got a branch coming off here. I could reduce it right back to that branch, but be kind of wasting the thickness here. I don't know. Take out a weed there. I'll try pruning it off here. There seems to be a bud there, so I'll take it off here. There. And we'll see what happens. Maybe some new shoots will form and I can slowly develop a style to this Virginia creeper. I'll continue to remove the vines from the linden tree. There. I think I've got this one free. Oh, a little more here. There I go. There's one free. I've got one coming down the front here. Okay, that's good. That's vine free now. Before I start to remove all the seeds off the tree and just reduce it to just foliage, I'm going to do a bit of styling on the tree. All these new shoots I've just let grow unrestricted, I think for 3, maybe 4, maybe longer years. And they're just straight. They're just, you know, they shoot straight up. So I want to reduce them back to some branching to get some movement in those. Reduce the number. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 growing out of one spot on the tree. So I want to establish a basic structure today. Reduce it down in height. And then, you know, begin developing it, letting it grow every year, and then pruning it back, and just keep repeating it until this part thickens up to the point where, yeah, it starts to justify having the thickness of this side branch here, because that side branch is really thick compared to anything else on the tree. I'm going to start the pruning by removing my lowest branch on the left side here, right here. I don't want it opposite the thicker branch. I want this as my number 1 branch on the tree. So then I want the trunk line to sweep upwards and have the second branch maybe staggered higher up on this side. So that lowest branch is just too low. It's kind of opposite the branch on the right hand side. So I'm going to remove that. This is the lowest branch that I'll be removing. So I'll come in and try and make a nice flush cut. So here I go. Off it goes. And then I'll come in and clean it up a bit, making a bit of a concave cut so it heals over nice and flush. That looks good. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 branches coming from basically the same spot, which isn't too bad if it's a clump style or a kind of a small broom style canopy on it. I'm looking at the styling of the tree now that I removed that lowest side branch. I think it looks better. It looks a little cleaner and shows a bit more trunk. I've got some foliage here. There's one from that branch that kind of, there's 2 branches that run kind of parallel here. See them there? So I think I want to keep that back branch, just reduce the tall part of this other branch here, cut it way back. The one trunk that's in the back there, it also has a few low branches, which I'll probably want to keep. And the one on the inside here doesn't have any branching until kind of mid up here. It has one that grows to the inside. There's one higher up that goes to the outside. Nothing down lower. And they're all fairly straight, so I probably, you know, want to prune everything back and start getting a bit of movement in these branches. I don't want to just keep growing them straight. All right, here I go. So this is this branch coming up here. I've got this back branch, so I'm going to prune it off somewhere about here. Here I go. That reduces that back. The branch out the back, I have got a branch here. There's a dead one here I'll remove. I'll reduce this one back to some side branches. Some good branching there. So I've got kind of some staggered branches here, but I've got 2 branches directly above each other in this section. So I'm going to remove the one on the inside here. So this one here, I'll come in and remove that, like that. And I've got kind of, this divides into a V up here, and I've got this branch that's directly underneath this one. I think it'd look better without that one also. Kind of crosses all the trunk lines anyway, so. Yeah, I think that one's got to come off. Yeah. All right, here it goes. That one's off. And then the upper ones, I'm going to reduce those back, taking the tops off them, trying to keep some branching. That reduces that back to this kind of a level. And then I've got this one growing up here. So I've got a branch at this level and one up here. So I think if I go just above there, here I go. Taking the whole top off of that tree. So now everything is this height or below, which makes it a lot more compact. And I'm hoping that stimulates a lot of back budding in this area, so I get more chances in the future to get some interest in the branches, so they're just not kind of straight and without any taper or movement. So that's the plan. Here's a look at the tree, what I'm left with. I think I have enough branches on it that it's going to stay healthy. I think it'll back bud before the end of summer and grow quite well by fall. So my next step, I've got to remove all the seeds or nuts off of the tree. For this process, it's just a matter of removing everything but the leaves. So I just cut the seed pod off, the little wing on it, and the 2 seeds. So I'll just do that for the entire tree. That way all the energy of the tree goes into the leaves, not developing these seeds. And I'll really have to keep my eye on those Japanese beetles. They really weaken a tree also. Okay, that's got that branch tip free of any seeds. So I'll just keep going around the tree. And we'll come back when I'm all done. Shouldn't take too long. I got the tree cleared of all the seed pods, so it's cleaned it up quite a bit. So now all the energy can just go into growing the tree instead of all these seeds. So I'll spin it around, you can have a look at it. Not the prettiest tree in the world, but I'll keep working on it. The next step is to clean up the landscape. I've got a lot of weeds in here. In the pot, I've got a lot of this liverwort here on the edges, so I've just got to dig it out and remove it. It's kind of moss mixed in with liverwort, so I'm trying to keep what moss I can, but I definitely want this liverwort out. This liverwort would look great on an alien landscape, but it doesn't look very good with a bonsai. Yeah, I think I'm just better to scrape it all away, start afresh. The moss, like the liverwort's all throughout the moss, so I can't really remove just the liverwort and keep the moss because it'll be full of liverwort spores and it'll just keep multiplying. So I'm going to take the moss right back. Probably good to expose these roots again anyway. Yeah, I think the water had a hard time getting through this layer of liverwort. It just kind of makes a waterproof barrier because I'm noticing the soil underneath is fairly dry. And I did just water this like maybe a couple hours ago. I'm thinking this may actually be the front of the tree. Maybe I've been showing you the back the whole time. Hope these roots are okay. They don't look the greatest. They look like they're dead. I don't know. Let me have a check here. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's just the bark flaking off them. This side of the tree definitely has the better root base. The other side is a little more simple, thick roots. So yeah, this might become the front of the tree. Or maybe it was, I don't know. I can't remember. I should have looked at the old videos on it. Anyway, Yeah, I think that'll have to be the front. It's just got the nicer roots and better trunk. This side, it's got a lot of deadwood on the trunk, which doesn't look so good. It's got a huge scar here. They're all healing over nicely, but let's have a look at it from the distance, from this, you know, with this as the front. Now, would I change anything if this was the front? I still have those two parallel branches on the right-hand side here, which I don't like at all. I think I'm going to get rid of the one that has the branch out here. It's too bad losing that branch, but I think the one behind is a more interesting branch, and it gives a bit of depth. So I have the one out front, the one on the inside, and one at the back. I don't think I need the one up this side, so I'm going to take that off. Like that. Yeah, I don't know. Still not a good structure yet, but I'll clean that cut up. Now, I have a look at it. Oh boy, it's just not getting any better, is it? Now I got those two upright trunks, which look terrible. I don't know. I might have to change the front slightly. Maybe somewhere to there. I don't know. Then I got those two crossing trunks. Well, I don't like that. I've got to do something. So I'm thinking of removing the one out front, because I kind of, then I'll have the branch come up and divide into a V here, even though the one is going straight up, which I guess the other front one is too. But at least it'll clear up that junction back there, because right now this front branch crosses in front of kind of everything behind it there. Off it goes. There's what I'm left with now. Well, you know, maybe it's more promising. Maybe even someday remove that vertical one and just develop the one as my kind of trunk line. I don't know. I'll see what develops on that vertical one. If I get all kinds of back budding back here, I can turn that into a kind of a nice upright trunk. Now I could reduce that apex a little bit on this side. I've got some foliage down lower. I could take that back a bit. I'll maybe take the branch back on the left-hand side a bit too. That's a little better. All right, I'm going to give it a good watering. It needs water. I think that layer of weeds was preventing me getting the water down to the lower part of the soil. It was maybe just, I think it was running off to the edges of the pot and going down, but it wasn't soaking the inner part of the root mass here. So I'll give it a good thorough watering, and I'll have to really watch that liverwort. It's terrible stuff. All right, here I go with the water now. All right, I think that's good with the water. That's probably the best watering it's had in a long time because of those weeds. I think it was just running off to the edges of the pot. So I think that'll help improve the health of the tree. We'll see if we can grow the ugly tree into a nice tree someday. It does have a lot of good stuff going for it. I mean, the root base and the trunk is kind of cool. Bit of an unusual looking tree, but yeah, maybe someday it'll start looking quite nice. There's a look at the tree again. I'll spin it around one more time. A lot of cuts in this one section here. That might have a tough time healing. Hopefully it won't just die off that part of the trunk, but we'll see. we'll let it recover, see how it does. These roots are definitely healthy. It was just some of that bark flaking off. These trees have like a really thick armor coating of bark on them. It's incredibly thick. So they're fine, they're healthy. I was just a little worried about them when I first saw them, but they're okay. Yeah, so a unique looking tree, that's for sure. It's time now for today's updates. My first update today is my arm-sized jade. It's sitting right here. And I noticed, you know, it had a lot of growth on it. It had that nice top branch that fell off. It just kind of dried up and fell off. I rooted that as a cutting. And I thought, you know, this growth is really kind of small. And I thought there's something wrong with it. So I did the old trunk squeeze. There, and you can see it's all soft. So it didn't root. The trunk's just rotting away. Even though I was really careful. I kept it out of the rain. I kept it in the greenhouse where it was nice and dry. I would only give it a kind of a misting. I kept the soil on the dry side, like quite dry. And it just never regained its health. So all these branches here, it's a little firmer on the side where there's branches, but not much. So they're doomed. I can cut them off as cuttings, but I already have the one from the top that rooted. So I think the arm-sized jade is just toast. It's just not going to make it. Sad, but that's the way it is. On the brighter side of things, my Bougainvillea flowers are still looking fantastic, which is cool. I have this vine that Vivian gave me. It is native to Madagascar and it has flowers coming on it, which is really cool. My cashews are looking fantastic. You can see them leafing out. That's that pot full there. My ficus that I repotted is looking good. It lost one leaf down here, but nothing else. So I think it's recovered because it's been quite a while since I did the repotting and that very, very drastic root pruning. Here's some of the other cashews coming out really nicely. Really nice dark leaves on some of them. Yeah, they're all germinating. There's some more cashews over here. Yeah, so they're all doing well. That's good. The almond, the bitter almond is doing well. Getting some branching on it. Here's a look at my Fiddly Fig now. It is doing really well. Those branches are growing. It's got a good amount of leaves on it. That back bud is still going to grow, I think. So yeah, recovering quite nicely. Might make an interesting tree someday. Hello, I don't have any food or berries or anything. Sorry. You guys just kind of following me around. I don't have anything, see? I got nothing. Oh well, maybe next time. The arm-sized jade packed it in, but the one that I got from Connor is still doing well. It's nice and firm at the trunk here. Really firm. And it's got new clusters of branches growing on it. So, you know, it's not growing really quickly. It's been, you know, slowly growing over the summer. There's new shoots coming out down here now. So hopefully, you know, by the time fall comes, it'll have enough foliage on it to get it through the winter just fine. A tree I'm going to be repotting this summer too is my Schefflera here. It hasn't been repotted in quite a few years. I've been letting it grow to get all kinds of energy in it. So it should be super healthy so I can repot it without any problems. I'm going to do a lot of sorting out of the roots. I mean, they're not the worst in the world in here, but I think I can do a lot of root work. There's a lot of kind of surface roots that have thickened up now that crisscross everywhere. So I'll get those all sorted out. And I may be able to raise it out of the soil just a bit. I don't want to show too much root. I want it to kind of look look natural. I don't want the roots to stand out above everything else. My little cedar root over rock, that natural one that just grew there all by itself, is doing really well and needs pruning again soon. There's the front of it, I guess. Yeah, it's starting to get a little bushy. You can see there's some rocket branches up top. These need pruning back just to make it more compact. If I don't prune it, it'll quickly outgrow that rock. I know that. So I've got to keep it fairly tight. So I'll have to do that soon too. My Ficus microcarpa, the one I call plain because it's got a plainer trunk than the fancy one, I've just been letting it grow and gaining vigor, and then I'll give it a pruning probably at the end of summer. The last update for today is my Ficus Religiosa, my tall one. You can see it's filled out really nice in the upper canopy. So I think that'll need pruning very soon. I think it's strong enough that I can prune it back and shape it once more. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.